Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. On this episode of the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, we host guest Jon MacFarland. Jon is the founder and owner of MacFarland Painting, a residential and commercial painting company based in metropolitan Detroit that does over $5 million in annual revenue. Jon discusses his path of dropping out of college to start MacFarland Painting, and he explains why he describes MacFarland Painting not as a painting company, but rather as a professional company that paints. Jon gives advice on how painting company owners can learn from business owners in other industries, and he discusses the employment compensation model at MacFarland Painting and how changing this model 7 years ago has really helped propel his company's growth. If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Jon, thank you for being on the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about MacFarland Painting, the background. What do you guys do?
We do a lot of the same things that, larger residential paint companies do. A couple things we do besides the straight interior and exterior redos. We do a lot of kitchen cabinet painting. Right now, our capacity is at 8 a week. We close on a new building in 8 days. And so we'll be doing about 12 or 14 a week when we're operational in there. And then staircase and banister, refinishing baluster swap outs is kind of another specialty item that's a little different than what some companies get into. We have an entire crew of 3 guys dedicated to do that. They do that 5 days a week, restains and swap outs and new posts and things like that. And that's kind of a little different and interesting.
Yeah. So you guys, you do residential and commercial, correct?
Yeah, mainly residential, about 85% residential and repaints. Very little new construction paint for us.
Okay. And so 85% residential, almost all repaints. What percentage of that would you say is kind of this more specialized work, the kitchen cabinets and everything else?
Yeah, cabinets make up about a quarter of our business. And the stair stuff is increasing at a pretty rapid clip in 2022. I expect it to be, maybe 15%, 10 to 15%.
That's great. And are those your, the cabinets and the staircase, are those your higher margin or highest margin jobs?
Cabinets are, because materials are cheaper. The staircases are a little different because materials make up a much higher percentage than, paint material for our everyday work. So
sure. Got it. And what do you guys do revenue wise in 2021?
2021, we're about mid 4 millions, and I expect this to be about 5.2 or 5.3 this next year.
That's great, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sizable. And so you guys are 4.5 last year, expect to be over 5 this year. When were you guys founded?
I became a residential builder in 2005. So, that's really the first official start of the company.
Sure. Okay.
In Michigan, you were required to be a licensed painter. I went for the full residential builder license. It encompasses all things. And actually, I don't know really why, but a few years ago, they got rid of the painting license in Michigan. But we have 3 people on staff that are full residential builders, and we maintain those licenses. I feel that being overqualified is an okay thing.
Yeah. And you guys are based in Metro Detroit, correct?
Yeah, city is Livonia. We have 2 offices, one in Livonia and one up in Highland. Highland is kind of a suburb northwest of the city of Detroit, and Livonia is just exactly west of Detroit.
Nice. And are you the sole owner, sole founder?
I am. Yep.
You are. Okay. Great, man. Well, you and I were speaking previously, and you had mentioned kind of just diving in here, John, you had mentioned that one of the things that makes you unique, you think, really from a lot of other painting company owners, is how you compensate your employees and what your employee model looks like. You mind kind of speaking about that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's, there's successful companies do a lot of the same stuff correct, and successful painting companies do even more of the same stuff with how they market and do things, and their in-house process, their follow-ups. There's not much different that we do, but we pay our staff a lump sum percentage of the job, and so they're full-time, W-2 employees. These are not subcontractors. We believe strongly, from our point of view, that having employees is better than subcontractors. It allows us to be consistent. We see our people in the morning and the afternoon. But one of the problems with that is, if it's just a stale 9 to 5 employee relationship, you're dealing with incremental raises and all these other things that no one likes. So we pay a percentage of the job. Our crews are incentivized to, stock the warehouse and get out to the job on time, avoid unnecessary trips to the store, have the trucks and all the tools that they need to do a job right. Look at the photos in the job file so that we have a game plan before they show up to a project. They know exactly who's doing what and how they're going to dissect it. So we're working faster, instead of kind of that slow start and getting our bearings. They know exactly where they're going to go to. And I think it's only fair for me, if we, empower them to do that, that we pay them, some of the savings for what is wasted time, to not be going to the store and waiting in line and doing those things.
Sure. So have you guys always been doing that, or was this something you switched?
Yeah, we switched 7 years ago. So, we've done that for millions and millions of dollars worth of work. And generally what we put together 7 years ago is the same. Did we have a good job plan? Was the estimate well written? Did we have good pictures? We really look at when jobs come back good or bad. Why? Do we need to adjust prices? Are materials creeping up? Is there, a problem with the type of skill sets on a job or on a crew? Are we trying to put square pegs in round holes from a labor standpoint? Cabinets, we have a very specific group of 7 guys that do cabinets. Our other guys probably could, but they don't do them as well. They don't make as much money doing cabinets. So cabinet crew stays on cabinet crew. Big residential exterior guys that love walking roofs and doing that, they get paid really, really well. That's not for everybody. So we specialize crews and teams based on what's going to make them the most money, which inherently makes us more money as the owner.
Sure. Yeah, a win-win. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what percentages, or if you have some sort of scale that you use for the lump sum?
Yeah, so for us, our number is 31% gets paid to labor. That's the gross ticket. So we're not accounting for taking off paint material or stock material, sundries, or anything like that. We pay to a crew lead or project manager. They get another 2% on top of that. They may be running multiple jobs, different sites in a day. They're working project managers for us at this point. So that's incentivizing them to have more than 5 or 6 people underneath them. That becomes kind of real money at that point. And we found that it's been successful. I will tell you, the first couple of years that we did it, we noticed our material consumption going through the roof. We had 6 years of data that we kind of arrived at this 33% total number on. And then, guys were throwing stuff away. Guys were, not cleaning things out. Stuff was coming up missing. So we actually added in another component where we're incentivizing and paying quarterly bonuses to our project managers that are being cognizant of what we're actually expending on those goods. And that's, again, wildly successful. Our bonuses for Q4 last year were anywhere from $1,800 to $4,700 to keep that number where we want it to be, because reducing that labor percentage from 33% won't go over real well. So that's kind of a stopgap for us. The guys that are ordering stuff are incentivized to keep track of things, and it works really well.
And what are you trying to keep that supply percentage below?
We'd like it to be 17%.
Okay, make sure you have that 50%.
Yeah, we like that to be there. And in fact, I pay them every dollar that's underneath 17%. So those guys that run and are looking at a $4,000 or $5,000 quarterly bonus, they're running at probably 16%, 15.5%. So, bulk orders, stocking stuff, that's part of it. But honestly, the biggest metric is getting to the job and working and getting off the job and being done, not having callbacks and other things. Those cost more inefficiencies than, saving a couple of cents on a roll of tape or something like that. It really is more process orientated. Guys, our crews meet at the shop in the morning. So if they're here and they're back in the shop and they're here for half an hour or 40 minutes, it's hard to be real productive and overcome that once we get to a job site and really get to work. So we try to get them out of here quick. And, if we have to have guys planning or setting up vans, one guy does that. Two guys might do that. Not a crew of 8 or 9 guys kind of hanging out, talking. That doesn't happen here. So.
Yeah. And did you say they meet again in the afternoon or just in the morning?
Yeah, our crews ride in our vehicles, our lettered vans. And so almost all of our staff is starting and stopping their days at the shop. We have managers that mainly because of space concerns take vans home. Our sales staff takes their cars home. But most of the painting crews, their stuff is stored here in the warehouse.
Okay, got it. And so do you mind, I mean, this is kind of I guess maybe diving into minutia here, but when they meet in the morning or in the afternoon, do you have any sort of set stand-up meeting or protocols you cover? What does that process look like?
Yeah, so we have a handful. We probably have on the high side, and I would at times say too many weekly meetings and structured things. Monday, we do a whole company shop talk. That may be silly stuff, letting people know what the deal is for the Christmas party in 3 months. It
Sure.
may be handing out new gear and uniforms and that stuff. That happens on Mondays. Each individual team, which right now is about 6 to 10 guys, those teams have a meeting once a week too. I have a sit down with what we kind of call our leadership. So my business manager, my sales manager, my operations manager for the paint side, and my operations manager for cabinets, Thursday morning, every other Thursday. Today was one. But those team meetings that they do every week, they're going through and looking at their checklist. It actually has a category that says time out of shop. So they're supposed to be here at 7:30 a.m. If we're not out the door by 7:40, and we're a crew of 3-4 guys, what did we spend 30-40 minutes doing? It's great to catch up with people. We want everyone to be friendly, but it doesn't take 30 minutes to make sure we have the 10 gallons of paint for the job and open the overhead door and get out. So those kind of checklists are built in, so that we're making sure that we're measuring that. And if we're slow getting out, it's going to be hard to make up for that when we're on the job site.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. So you made a really big shift in your business model 7 years ago, with how you pay your employees.
It wasn't my idea. It was actually my number one producer was his idea.
Really?
He said, yeah, he was driving a half an hour to our shop at least, and then sometimes farther to jobs. And he said, I like it here. I'm a lifer, but I think if you just kind of figured out how, what we cost you, you might get more out of us if we did this as a lump sum percentage. And we tried it with him for a month. We really didn't tweak very much. He loved it. We loved it. And, we let guys kind of opt into it for the first 4 months because it was so new.
Yeah.
Certainly the crew's concerns at that point that it was going to be work harder, faster, longer coming from me. We work less hours now than we did then. I mean, we were 55, 60-hour week guys at that point when we were hourly. And now we're 45, 52 in the summer is a pretty normal busy week. We really don't go beyond that very much.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the trends, and, some people use 1099. Some people do, encourage people to create their own companies and subcontract that way. Some people do W-2s, but one of the big themes that I've noticed for success here is allowing whoever is your painting, whoever is your producer, your estimator, giving them some sense of ownership, some sense of control over what happens to them.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys, I mean, it's very obvious you're trying to keep your profit margins, your gross profit margins above 50%, 50% kind of at the worst. If 17% is going to your supplies, what was it before? Was it worse? Was it lower?
It was about the same, 17 to 18. But when the first 2 years we did this system, I mean, it crept up 21, and then the second time it was 23%.
Oh, wow.
So the labor rate doesn't work at that, you know what I mean? And reducing the labor rate would have not gone over well. So we had to kind of address it from the back end, with the material consumption.
And with this switch, obviously it was a little bit bumpy with the supply percentage in the beginning, but what have been the major benefits? Has it been that your gross profit has improved? Has it been that you've been able to grow faster? What have you really seen as the major benefits?
I think the number one benefit is the culture. Our guys operate as if they're business owners themselves. So callbacks are like terrible, right? If you're an
Right.
hourly employee, do you really care if you get a call back to a job, you're getting paid the same, or you're starting a new project? Our guys, those walkthroughs got better because that labor is paid. You want to drive a half an hour to a job for a 2-second touch up? It's terrible. No one wants to do that. So their walkthroughs are more consistent. Their accountability with each other is more consistent. If guys going to be sick, I'm the last one to hear about it. Their coworkers and their project manager, they know, they already have a game plan before it even, gets anywhere close to me. And I think that culture is probably the single biggest benefit from that. Certainly financially, it allows a little bit more predictability with what we're doing.
Sure.
When we adjust prices, we're inherently building right now, right, with inflation, we're inherently building in pay raises because we're adjusting our
Yep.
prices and they're paid a percentage of that. So development is kind of handled in that, because when someone gets faster at drywall or spraying or faux finishes or stain work, maybe they were only worth $15 an hour spraying when they started, but they're really fast now and they're worth 30, 32, 34. This solves that. Guys aren't disenfranchised asking for a quarter raise or $1 an hour raise. It just doesn't, those terribly uncomfortable conversations that are hard to scale at times, this fixes that, which we like.
I love that. You guys are already, it's built-in raises and built-in development raises. Yeah, that's amazing. Do you have any, well, first off, did you lose anyone? Even positive cultural shifts can sometimes not be a fit for everyone.
Not right away. Not right away. Certainly after that, not because of the pay system, but because of the more formal nature of the company. When we got our second lease space and we started to grow, there were people that liked the transient nature of painting and just being able to kind of come and go and fly under the radar and not have accountability. And so we did have people that either left or were asked to leave, but it took about a year of this for them to really get uncomfortable with it.
That's interesting. So you almost built this accountability and people who probably were not your best employees already and were no longer a fit and just eventually kind of found the door themselves, mostly, it sounds like.
Yeah, if you think about our teams of, if there's 3 or 4 guys on a project, and girls, we have 5 painters that are female now. If you're slow or lagging or not picking up your share of the weight, you're getting a percentage of that profit. So they don't tolerate it. Those guys will get washed away pretty good or say, this just isn't a great fit for you. I like you, but you're kind of more of a 9 to 5. I just want to work in assembly line type of mentality. And that's great, but that's not here. We've had a lot of guys are like, I love it. It seems good, but I can't handle thinking about ways to be faster. That little bit of stress does wear on people, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there is definitely an element of stress there that would not have been there before. I was going to ask about the culture, because I could see conflict arising. If one person is on a crew and really fast and someone else is really slow, that's obviously going to cause some tension. How has that worked?
We're pretty lucky, and we're pretty lucky the last few years, really 4 years on, I would say we're dealing with very little interpersonal conflict, personality deals on jobs. We do hire a certain type of person, but even then there are certain teams or team leaders that might not be a good fit for painter A. So we will try a new hire on a couple teams and then kind of pull the new hire and pull the crew and say, what did people think about Brandon? They're like, I liked him, but his fear of heights, man, I just don't think he's going to fit with us. We paint so much outside. He's
way too afraid of the heights. Yeah.
Where another group is like, yeah, he doesn't know as much, but he can deal with the heights and we'll fix his lack of knowledge or experience. That's no big deal. So the training, if we have guys that come in on a group and we stick them with somebody, they're more invested to train them, because when you're better, they're better and everyone makes more money. Again, it kind of fixes, I'm not saying it doesn't create some problems, because it definitely has its own stresses, but it fixes a lot of the traditional, hiring and performance metric issues that we deal with as business owners.
Yeah, there's a term called intrapreneurship, basically being an entrepreneur within a company. And a lot of it has to do with accountability and sort of finding innovative ways to improve things. And it sounds like this would probably encourage that.
Yeah.
Encourage it.
Well, like with our cabinet division, Mike runs our cabinet division, and that was something that was about 6 years ago when it started to gain popularity, and we did it the way that a lot of guys do, right? We did it in basements and garages and taped it off. We have spray booths now. It's a totally different animal, but That was kind of a rock, paper, scissors, hot potato deal. I mean, Mike was the low man on the totem pole. The other guys that have been with me for a little bit said, I don't want to deal with it. This does not sound like it's profitable. I mean, Mike would kill somebody trying to take that from him. He's built this system of, we paint this side in this order, and we number doors this way, and then it's an accent color. We change colors of tape. And I mean, he's got all these little built-in metrics that it's way better than what I would have done with it, because I let him just run with it and take it over. And that's his baby, not even mine.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's ownership inside the company.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing your average ticket values for, cabinets, all the different kinds of work that you do?
Yeah, our average cabinet value is a little slightly larger than our average ticket. So cabinets will be about $39.50. Our average job is about 3,700, 3,677, I think is what it came out to last year. And our average exterior is, north of 4,000 by a bit. So we're not painting terribly large projects. We're doing 1-2 day jobs for the most part with our crews.
And is that intentional, or is that just how it's kind of played out?
It's a sweet spot for us. The bigger jobs, more can go on. It's not that we don't do residential interiors for 20,000. We just had one come through for 30,000. That's just a repaint and a nice big home. It's not even a crazy scope of work. I like that tempo. I do, and our guys do. We've found that that's kind of the most profitable. We're in and out quick, where people don't get sick of having us there every day. But it's not necessarily a new customer and a new set of rules and a new hot button every morning, trying to get a feel for, how you want things done in your house, how you communicate best. So, 2 days is kind of a nice deal for us. Cabinets take a week. We do cabinets Monday, Tuesday, we're in the home, Friday, we deliver doors, and that's pretty scripted.
Nice. So you guys are on track to break 5 million. What do you primarily attribute that growth to?
It's not my looks, it's not my intelligence. I think it's me understanding years ago that it wasn't going to be me. And now, so what's happened the last couple of years have been really explosive growth. We've historically grown at nice 15, 17, 18% numbers. It's safe and predictable. We hired a marketing admin just over a year ago. I got really, really lucky with a couple key hires, my business manager, Chris, my operations guy, Garrett, that like the freedom, like the culture, and have certainly enough good ideas that they're willing to take what I think might be right and tell me when it's not right and implement maybe a better way to do it. And I think that's probably the number one thing with almost every business owner. If you knew everything, then it would be a company of one. I really like the help I get from my support staff. I think that's been the single biggest reason. I did our social media stuff before. I did a really half-assed job of it. Frankly, it wasn't good. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't regular. Elizabeth is great and way better at it than I am. So, giving up that little bit of control, it's still hard for me to give up control. I don't do estimates now anymore. I gave that up about 3 years ago. That was hard. I love doing quotes, but 10 years before that, I loved painting houses, and, giving up that little bit of control. Thankfully, I've been, able to kind of realize the people do a better job with their jobs than I would have anyhow. So it's not as hard to reminisce about that. Although I still like estimating and dealing with customers. But.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, delegating. And I think this point that you made about, you understood a long time ago that it wasn't going to be you. I would love to go deeper into that. What do you mean by that?
Sure. So, I could talk for hours about how I got into this, but I'm the child of two public educators and administrators. So, college was it. College was the plan, and I went and changed majors to construction management and then dropped out because the construction management program was not doing what I wanted it to do, to be an entrepreneur. There was no component to help me with that. My dad was pissed, to say the least. Him and I got along splendidly.
Can imagine. Yeah.
He thought it was a terrible mistake. I gave up some money I was getting from the criminal justice program to go to another school. And he just thought it was a terrible mistake. And, he heard every horror story of things like that. Now, he was handy. He actually got into teaching as a substitute shop teacher and took a long-term position, then was a principal and administrator. So he could do stuff, but he just felt like, God, this is just going to be a rough life for him. He retired 2 years later, and I handed him business cards and I had him selling jobs for me, because he wanted something to do. I think his concern was just trying to get that buy-in from me. And was I really going to take this seriously and do it, or was I just enjoying having, some extra spending money and a nice new truck and owning my own house at 21? What was the motivation behind it? At that point, I realized what I wanted was to build a business that could actually support other people and their lives and their families, pay them well, above our area's averages, allow them to have toys and a boat and a car and these other things that people should have, and take vacations and do things, where it's not just this paycheck to paycheck kind of miserable existence that
Yep.
some contractors and painters, I think, honestly, we're kind of at the bottom of the barrel in the construction hierarchy of just a loose, a little bit like a transient gypsy in nature, and that was not what I was going to be comfortable being a part of. So it was important for me to build out stuff that people could be proud to work for, even if it wasn't their name on the truck. Was a big motivator for me. I probably should have changed the name years ago. It's a little bit too far past that now, but I have guys that are super proud to say where they work and really care about it as if it's their own. They wear our gear when they're out, at restaurants and places and sporting events, and that stuff is important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it means you've built a culture and that people are proud of. And I think, you started there, the way that I've seen it. Again, we talk with painting contractors across the country. I have clients across the country, and then I run this show. So I talk with a lot of painting company owners, and I've seen kind of two paths. One is, and a lot of times those paths kind of merge. Obviously on this show, we have only painting company owners that are doing over $1 million. So they figured out what they want typically, but they start as a painter and it just kind of ends up happening, or they start as a business owner that they're going to run a painting company. It sounds like you went into it as I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to better people's lives and make a difference in my community. And I'm going to do that through painting. But maybe you could have even selected something different. Am I thinking about this the right way?
Yeah, no, I think that's a lot of it. I mean, we did some other services when I was more hands-on. We did some roofing, we did some siding, we did some kitchen remodels and bathroom remodels, and I was master of nothing type of guy. I was pretty proficient in everything, but not great at any of those. I think the one thing I was good at is having this vision and trying to lead this, and then probably recognizing some talent of people that could help get there and would want to be in the front seat with me while it's going on. And that's always been critically important to me. That if it wasn't this, I used the phrase years ago, we're a professional company that paints. Painting is the service we provide. I just hate the word painter because it has these weird negative connotations. I mean, I am the president of a company first. Yes, we paint, and yes, our guys are painters, but they're project managers and they're crew leads, and they're these great people that this is the venue for it. This is not the existence,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's unfortunate, it is unfortunate that the industry sort of has that perception a little bit. But I think people like you and entrepreneurs like you and who are creating a culture where people are proud to work there, actually wearing their gear out, I think that is going to eventually change the tide. I think that with the PCA and a lot of the, professionalization is obviously a big term in the industry right now, but all this transitioning, I think within the next 5, maybe 10 years, I hope that stigma is no longer a thing.
I love it. I mean, we're still one of the few companies in our area that has a 401k, right? That has health insurance. We have short-term and long-term disability for our folks. So if they blow out a knee at softball or break a hand, we had a guy who broke a foot doing his own deck repair job. They're covered on that. And that's important. No one's going to lose a house. You work here, you're not losing a house. You're not having a car repoed because you got in a car accident and you can't go back to work. That's not even on our mind here. The new facility we're putting in is going to have a 4,000 square foot fitness center in it. I'm going to be hiring, mostly predominantly males, 18 to 30. And if they're females, they're going to be younger, our field staff. And so that's going to resonate with them. It's a place they can go before or after work, get a quick workout in, grab a shower. And I think that will be a desirable draw to our, keep our people happy. But I think that's going to be powerful doing interviews at the new place. They're going to walk through a showroom and they'll see the fitness center and know work-life balance is huge with us. So nobody in my company's cell phone number is on any piece of material ever, anywhere. We have methods for that. We have great answering service here. We answer the phone from 7 a.m. to 5. We have a whole company-wide text app that, guys can text and have it be screened through the app, and we can see that stuff. And our main thing is just plan, schedule, do what you said you're going to do. And there's no reason to contact people out of business hours. All those extra contacts are because generally somebody screwed something up or forgot or is making up for a mistake. It was never intended to get phone calls at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You're fixing not doing your job at some other point, so our crews, they may send funny texts and memes, but they're not getting a, hey, go to this job tomorrow text. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah. I mean, you guys aren't doctors, nobody's dying. So
Right.
if things are running how they should be, you can take time off.
I use the line, there's no such thing as a pain emergency. I mean,
Yeah.
If our customers say, what if I have to call you tonight? It's like, call 911, then your insurance company, and then we'll show up tomorrow at 7 and we'll handle whatever we need to,
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are basically building the Facebook or Google headquarters of painting over here with a 4,000 square foot workout facility. Maybe we'll have a cafeteria at some point here. I like this.
We do have a cafeteria there. It's going to seat
Oh my
about up to
goodness.
100. So
Wow.
I don't have the bankroll for childcare. I got a couple people here that are leveraging for that, and dog daycare services. Those got
Wow.
these and honestly, in your podcast and talking with other professionals that I respect, I mean, you talk about the cost of hiring people and keeping people. So $30,000 in gym equipment, I'll make that back in 6 months. Attracting one good person and keeping them on board. To me, that's like having new trucks and nice tools versus beat up stuff. You get the guys to take better care of it and appreciate going to work when they feel good and look good. It's just, I didn't think I'd be in a position to do this, honestly, and we are. And so I think it makes sense to do it. So.
It's a great point, man. It's an investment into the business. And you sit down and you actually do the math and you think about it again, like a business owner, about the payout that you get from what other people might say. Why would you waste? Obviously it's not a waste. Why would you waste $30,000 on gym equipment? Yeah. I mean, you keep one person for a year longer and they do a good job. You just made it back. And obviously you're probably going to get a lot more ROI than that.
Yeah. And I think, and that's part of it. We're going to be hiring people that would find that appealing. That is our demo. That is going to be a perk where some things are not as important to guys. But in our business, being able to do that, get a quick workout, I think it'll be valuable. And the worst case scenario is if we determine it's not, we sell the equipment and repurpose the space to maybe something that they want. But that was a pretty unanimous across the board. Hey, pie in the sky. What would really be cool to have? We got that from a lot of staff. So
that's great. So you solicited feedback. You knew you wanted to give them something, and that was what came out on top.
When we put an offer in on the building. It's just down the street from where we're at now. I mean, we walked all of our staff through that and said,
Wow.
Here's my rough sketch. This is where I think the showroom should go. Every department weighed in, and we made a wish list that was like, name things that you need to have in your office, in your workspace, name things that you'd like to have, or if money was no option, you would buy yourself. So a seating area, coffee bar was one that was popular with the ladies up front here. That's super cheap. They don't want to be at their desk. They want a time they can all be together for a few minutes in the morning
Sure.
or afternoon and take a 5 or 10 minute break. No big deal. We can make that happen. That's totally worth doing. So.
And how many employees do you have right now?
We're at 51.
51. And you walked, well, maybe it wasn't all 51 at that point, but you walked almost that number of people through.
We did, yeah. So we did it with kind of our key people, our leadership people, the project managers once, and then we did the cabinet guys. We took through there separately just so they could have some individual kind of
Sure.
time to talk and ask questions. And then, yeah, we kind of did whoever else didn't get a chance to go or wants to see it again. Once we had our first drawing, we brought them back through there, and people made notes that were really good. I mean, my concern about it was this giant investment in being wrong, right? Where do we put people? That logistics matters. Where should our sales be in relation to our office, to our operations people, so that it's not, we can't all be on top of each other, but we don't want to be at opposite corners either. And so getting them to weigh in on that, I just feel more comfortable operating that way.
Yeah, that's great, man. So we I've obviously heard a lot in the industry, especially as of late, about hiring difficulties and labor shortage. Has that impacted you?
It's definitely harder. than it's been. We're spending a little bit more money to be out there and in front of Indeed, but we're also pickier than I was 2 years ago and 3 years ago. I had the belief falsely back in the day that we could probably take somebody that was damaged or fixed them or had some, smudges on their record and this and that. We're a little bit more picky about who we're going to sit down. Our pre-screening is better, but we've grown. I mean, we've netted 20 employees since COVID started. So, that it's not been an issue, but it's real work to get there. It's real time invested in doing those interviews and screenings and on-site trial days and evaluations and trying to, get an idea for their behaviors and the way they think and say they're going to be a great fit for this team or that team. That's been a lot more work than I think it was years ago, but our staff is a lot higher quality. So I think it's worth it,
Yeah. Do you kind of take another step into this for company owners, that they have a smaller company, they don't have 51 people to sort of draw from, and they have been struggling to find employees, or they feel capped in some way by what they perceive to be a lack of labor. What advice do you have for them?
What I was guilty of back in the day is control, right? I didn't want to give up control. And I think if you give people more control, I think you see the better, leadership skills or problem solving skills out of staff. So that's one of the first things, is give them enough freedom to make their own decisions and do what they think they're going to do. I think people that feel suffocated and stymied don't ever develop and grow, and it's just not comfortable and they're uneasy all the time. So that's probably the number one thing. The other thing too is we've had more success hiring the right person with zero experience than the career painter. Yeah, I can do everything. We will spend more time and effort trying to fix those people than we will training up a new person, honestly. Get a new guy that gets it, wants to work. And we had a walk-in interview a couple of years ago. He's one of the favorite guys in all the company. He just knocked on the door, said, "I think I'd like painting." Okay. I work in a factory. I hate it. I mean, he's everyone's favorite guy because he's a sponge. He was the right guy. We taught him how to do everything. He knew nothing when he started. If he went to a competitor right now, he'd be managing projects and all over the place, and he's 25 years old. So the right people make a difference. I've been lots of mistakes in hiring these guys that are 30, 40, 50 years old, a lot of stops, never found a home. And I think the quicker you realize if they were really that worthwhile, they'd be someone's right-hand man and they would never lose them. If that guy was really good, they wouldn't be looking for a home. We do ask that question at every interview, what's important to you? Why are you looking for a job? And then I shut up as long as I can and let them just go. And they'll continue to go a little bit deeper with that. And, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's time with family, sometimes it's respect. But they'll often really clue you into what they're looking for. And we may not be a good fit, but if, they say work-life balance, I like to work on a team, I like to get stuff done, I like to be rewarded when I do a good job, I like to be recognized when I do a good job, I like to learn. We check those boxes.
I want to touch on a couple of things right there, because I think you made some really good points that could be missed. And one of the things you said that I think is very powerful is you just stop talking and you listen. And I think when you pause, people have a natural inclination to fill pauses. So if you pause, or if someone says, well, I want the job for X, Y, or Z, and you dive deeper, you dive 1 or 2 levels deeper. Okay, well, you want it for this. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? You'll pull so much more information out of them, because people will have a compulsion to kind of almost vomit everything to you. And then you can really understand who you're talking to. Is that kind of how you approach that?
Yeah. And I follow a script for our sit down face-to-face interviews. If I'm doing it or Garrett or Mike are doing them, just so there's some continuity. If we're comparing notes on somebody, we have the same questions, but we ask people, what do you like to do in your spare time? And that's early on, right? So that's an icebreaker. And I didn't design this. I took some pieces from what I found online, but it's easier to talk about, well, I have kids, they're in basketball or in baseball, I like hunting, I like fishing. Okay, now we've got the barrier down. This doesn't need to be this very formal, it's okay if you misspeak or make a mistake.
Right.
I say, I didn't really mean it to sound like that way. I did like where I worked before. I just didn't like some of the guys were tough on me. It wasn't that I hated the job or the owner. And then they'll elaborate, and that's critical too, because there's 2 sides to every story, but I think, I haven't paused in this interview at all. I've just been rambling, but I think that in that interview one-on-one setting, it's just kind of confrontational naturally. They're coming
Right.
to our place to do it. It's this ominous, they don't know the questions. And, and I think just getting them to relax, talk about themselves, wives, kids, family, what you like doing. That's more important to me than work. We'll get to if you don't know how to paint, we'll fix that. But
Yeah. And I think another really good point you made was what is driving them. I think the wrong companies always assume it's money, and that, they're there because they need a paycheck. And I think if you approach hiring, whether you're here because you want a paycheck and you just assume that, those are the kinds of people you're going to hire. They're there because they want a paycheck, not because they want a career, or you said respect.
yeah.
That's a very different thing.
Yeah, and you get a quarter an hour raise to the next company, and boom, they go up because
They're
they saw
gone.
an ad at the local paint store for that. And they're like, oh, they're paying me $20.25, so let's check it out. That stuff's key to us. The why. What are we
Yeah.
trying to? We have weekend work available every weekend. Our guys make so much money that it's not really on their radar. If they have a trip or something planned, they'll pick up some weekend time because it pays a lot of money for us to work weekends. They make really good money doing that. But most of our people like their personal time a lot, so
Yeah.
like Monday, Tuesday, we're going to work later hours in the day. By Thursday, it's everyone's goal to get guys out of the field by 3. So it feels like they have a full weekend, getting home at 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Friday kind of kills that, and that's
Right.
not a good look either. So.
That's great, man. So when you hire, obviously there are a lot of changes that painting company goes through, any company, from 0 to over 5 million. I guess, can you speak a little bit to that? What you would recommend for a company, maybe kind of along the whole journey, if they're at 100,000 or 500,000 or 1 million, who do you hire first? What do you kind of delegate first, and what struggles did you run into as you scaled, and how would you advise other owners to kind of deal with those struggles?
Yeah, I think the best thing is to figure out what you might actually be good at. And if you don't know, I think you need to ask your friends and family. The finances and doing the bookkeeping is not my deal. I'm not good at it. I put it off. I did a crappy job. It's just not my deal. I would try to rank those things. So you got marketing, you got your bookkeeping, you have your sales, you might have your field management, you might have your training, and I would just do a real thorough self-evaluation. Ask a spouse or a really good friend or a parent, like, hey, I need you to be honest. I'm not a 10 at all these. Where am I not that great at? And then I think you hire from there. My first outside deal was an office administrator, because I was better and more effective in the field, starting and finishing jobs and training and bringing back the money, than I was accounting for the money or answering the phone. So for me, that was super simple. And then I think I was probably as good as anybody can be on the job site, job flow, managing people, getting stuff done. So I brought in an outside estimator, even when I was still managing projects. I didn't work myself out of the field, so it was this nice, cushy, white collar job, and I stayed clean. It made more sense for me to work on the nuts and bolts of the technical stuff. And when I was able to hire somebody to do that, then I hired another person for the office, because the volume was up there. The woman I hired to do the stuff at the beginning was far more better doing just bookkeeping and higher end financials and stuff like that. And then that's more her deal. So the next hire in the front office was very customer forward, customer service person. The third person we hired for the office was a very young, focused, energetic marketing person who isn't as good on the phone as Danielle is with customer service stuff. She's phenomenal marketing. So we started to specialize these things once I took them off my plate, with people that, hey, you might have done all of these parts of this job when it was just one of you, but it's 3 now. We're in the middle of it doing that right now. We just had a meeting on that today. What things do we think we're just not great at that may change how we hire? This new place is going to have a showroom. None of my sales guys, I don't think, are necessarily inclined to do design work in a showroom. So that next person we hire has to be more design focused, comfortable inside sales showroom, playing with fun stuff. That's not who I have. So
Yep.
Rather than trying to make them that, we're going to find someone that can do that better.
That's great. Right people in the right seats.
Yeah, it's hard to do that when you're smaller. And, to your
Yeah.
question, I mean, that's it, trying to guess that. But I think that self-evaluation is, or get a business coach that will do that really thoroughly with you and say, okay, I was super slow to spend that money. I thought that spending that was going to be impossible to overcome the overhead of having somebody here all day answering phones. And I will tell you that it created this level of expectations for myself of, well, I'm responsible for them. I'm not failing. So if I need to generate more leads or do more networking or get more done during my day, then hell, that's what I'm going to do, because
Yeah.
letting them go is not an option. They're here, they're mine, we're a team, that's already history. So, I
Yeah.
think setting that bar is helpful too. Guys get nervous about it, but for a sole proprietor who's always done everything yourself, it gives you a little bit of accountability. That's more similar to having a wife or a spouse or a kid, where it's not just you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. There's definitely pressure there and someone else, and maybe their family is depending on you at this point.
Yeah.
That's yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship, business ownership, growing businesses, it is really not for the faint of heart. It is a stressful thing.
Yeah.
So kind of a related question. I'd actually put up a post in the Paint Ed, the PCA Facebook group a while back, and one of the comments that people wanted to know about is how you paid yourself as you grow. So, 0 to 5 million, when did you start paying yourself what you would consider well, or were you really focused on investing back into the business? How did that work?
Yeah, I invested back into the business probably too long. But with that said, we're purchasing a really nice building, so maybe not. I do pay myself a salary similar to what like an operations manager would be in our business. I take at least half my salary in distributions, that I'm doing, so I'm just not getting killed on taxes. My CPA has advised me that's the way to go. There's certainly, to be totally frank, there's the hidden perks of owning a business and cars and phones and things like that
Yep.
Get washed into that you have to account for. But I think the faster there's an accountability when you're setting a salary and you're not saying, oh, there's 10,000 in the bank, I'm taking out 5 for my pay this week. When that's metered and predictable, it forces habits of making the right decisions when it may be tough to live on, $1,000 a week or whatever that may be, getting by.
Right.
But if that's what's going to be in there for sure, then that's what it is. Take the rest out, quarterly or at the end of the year or before tax season or whatever. But I think, putting those constraints are important.
Yeah, having the discipline to make sure your business has what it needs. And the account, the phones and cars and everything. I mean, those, you obviously need Ferraris, John. I mean, the 3 Ferraris you have were a necessary business expense, and don't let anyone tell you that they were not.
Well, my mom used to give me a lot of flack about not, investing a ton of money in retirement when I was younger. And she was correct. I mean, it'd be worth more now, right? If I did this at 21 than 31. But I felt like the best investment was the business. And, I think it still is, but a little bit more balance back then probably would have been a good idea, not just putting every dollar back into it, or frivolously spending it in my 20s and early 30s. That would have been wise, advice that I wish I could talk to myself and say, hey, I don't care if it was $40 a paycheck, you should have put that in a 401k. If you need more money, then figure out ways to make more money at the front end, not steal more from yourself that you can't afford on the back end.
Yeah.
That's the solution, right?
Yeah. I have a joke with my wife when I'm making a decision that I know is probably a bad decision. I say, well, that's future Brandon's problem. Screw that guy. I'm good.
Yeah.
Not really a great long-term thought process there, though. Okay, so I want to touch on winter slow season. Obviously you guys have a pretty brutal winter. Do you have any advice for other painting company owners, or how do you try to stay busy during the winter? How do you approach that?
The last 2 years hasn't been slow up here. We've been booked all through, especially the holidays. I mean, we got 10 inches of snow yesterday up here. So traditionally though, when we have a slow season, we tell new hires, if you're good enough to be with us in the summer, we're not laying you off, we're keeping you all winter. So if everyone's hours need to go from 45 to 35, then that's what we do. And that was the case. Now we've been blessed the last 2 seasons to be booked where that was a concern. But we didn't provide a lot of discounts. We would really just start having conversations with people even in August. If it's an interior, are you sure? Can you just do me a favor and do this in December? December's tough. My first available for your job might be September anyhow. So would 5 or 6 weeks back kill you? Because it would mean the world to me, and just be honest with them. I think that got us more traction than 5 or 10% discount or free paint upgrade or some of the other things that people do.
Right.
And it might be because I'm a little cheap, but I just don't love those type of discounts. I kind of like honesty. If you could do your job in December, it made me the difference of guys having worked for that day or not, to be totally honest with you. Most of our clients say, well, yeah, that's not that big of a deal. My dining room can wait. Or I have family coming in and it can't, but we would just front load those conversations. And we did a little bit more. And again, before Elizabeth is a smaller operation, it was really kind of helter skelter with email marketing. We might run an email campaign to try to drum up stuff. We would call back, open estimates and try to close those deals. But our stuff closes within a couple of days generally. Very few of those 5-6 month dead leads are going to say, you know what? Yeah, I do want you to come. So we did that stuff. We might do a little more Facebook, but the problem is when you need to do that, you're busy. By the time you're slow enough to do that, it's too late. You're not.
Yeah, marketing happens before you need marketing.
Yeah. So I struggled with that a little bit, but my main change was actually in the estimate at the home saying, is it possible to do this in January? So something we could move down the road a little bit.
That's great, man. Yeah, that is the first time we've really heard that on the show, and it sounds, so that's a relationship driven approach there. You're essentially just being honest and open and asking.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and people may say, yeah, for a couple $100 or for $1,000 off this big project, I will. And then you can determine if that's worth it or not. But most of the time especially back then, our customers, they want you to succeed. They want you to be around in 5 years when they need you again. Most people are not, making so much money off this that people feel gouged. And so that human element is a pretty powerful tool that I think we kind of forget sometimes.
Yeah. We think purely business and numbers and strategies, and we forget we're all people. And I think generally people are good and not trying to hose you or they care a little bit, at least.
Yeah, I had a guy for a seal coat job at my house in my driveway that I tried handing money to in the fall and would not take it and said, call me back in the spring. And I said, I don't want to call you back. I want to be on your list. I'm cool with you keeping my couple $100 deposit so that I know I have a spot with you. Let's do this. But his thing was now almost like he couldn't trust himself. He said, you have to call me back. Well, I didn't call him back. I called another person that took a deposit because I wanted that relationship to go both ways. I was fine committing to him. And, I understood he probably couldn't fit me in the fall. He said he might be able to. And I said, I'm good with more of a sure thing. And I'm good with, kind of helping you with your business. And if you're scrambling, working a bunch of overtime in October to try to wrap this up, mine's not critical. I'm cool to go in April, let's just do that. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Are there any, you've brought up marketing a couple of times. I think you have someone who's doing a lot of your social media marketing. Have you done any marketing that you found to be really successful? And have you done any marketing that you thought would be successful, but was wildly unsuccessful?
Yeah, we've done some stuff that I didn't think was going to be successful. That is, and actually, oddly enough, it's a multiple company kind of cellophane wrapped print deal that I really thought, well, this is worth a shot. I knew the guy and liked him and said it's not that much money. We'll try it. I wasn't expecting much. Why it works for us is I told him I had to be on the outside. So if people open it or don't open it or throw in the trash, they're still seeing it. And we didn't do painting. I think that's a lot of problem that painters get into. Interior and exterior painting, that's not cool. No one cares about that. That's not fun. Custom faux cabinets is fun. Handrail refinishing is fun. Staircase redoing is fun. Custom, really cool front doors are interesting. But painting walls from beige to gray, which is all we've been doing for 6 years, that's not interesting to anybody. So from that marketing, we went just for handrails. So we're a painting company that only marketed in that mailer for handrails. And our return on that investment has been wildly successful. We get several calls every time that goes out, and we're talking that margin on that is maybe a 5 or 6% marketing cost for that.
That's great.
So that's been good, and I didn't think it was going to be. The traditional stuff that I thought would be good that we did, we did some videos on stuff, some kind of how-to stuff that I just think we didn't do a good enough job marketing and supporting, and it was kind of poorly done, and that didn't provide any traction. Some how-to things,
Sure.
We get asked all the time, how do you do a paint touch up? Because kids were going to mess up walls, and no one wants to call us back to deal with that. And some things that we thought were a good idea that we just didn't execute well enough, so they didn't stick, you know?
Yeah, that stuff, the how-tos and tutorials and YouTube channel, that's definitely a long-term.
Yeah.
You got to stick to that long-term to see the results.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, so you basically found a way in that mailer, first off, to make sure you were visible, regardless of what occurred. And then second, to stand out, basically, even if you are, as a painting company owner, only offering interior or exterior, somehow you have to stand out. You have to do something that's different. You guys obviously focus on something that is quite different, so it makes it kind of naturally easy to stand out. But somehow you don't want to just say we slap paint on the walls.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Personalities of guys, I think we have a lot of stuff that it shows our crews in it. They present well. People want to know who's coming to their house. They're not hiring me. They know that now. I'm not even going to do their estimate, so they're not buying me anymore. That's years ago.
Yeah.
Who is going to come to my house? Can I take a look at these guys? Are they having fun when they show up, or are they going to not like being at my house? If you do cool stuff, even we did a couple things where it's just a front door refinish, fiberglass refinish. People still don't know you can do that. So that had traction. To us, that's like very generic. Who cares? It's a door refinish, but
Yeah.
That resonated with clients in a way we didn't think it would. To kind of zoom in on some of those photos, right? So have a little different interest in how to, instead of just a before and after room or home.
Sure.
I think that's helpful too.
That's great. Yes, finding a way to stand out
Yeah.
from others. Do you see the painting industry changing over the next 5 to 10 years? And if so, how do you see it changing?
I mean, I think we're overdue to have it become a little bit more of an official, real life, contracting companies, right?
A real life.
like not one guy in a van, right? So I would love that.
I love
tell
Chuck.
people all the
Come
time.
on, John. I love Chuck.
I know. I got guys in our neck of the woods that I talk to all the time that I don't care if we get a job or don't get a job, as long as the guy that gets it is not going to be someone that's going to cause us problems down the road by, not doing things right, the taillight warranty. I'd rather have it go to a competitor of mine that's a legitimate competitor.
Yeah, it hurts the industry overall.
We get it. We're friendly with each other. It's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Smith liked their estimator more than mine because he smiled different. That's cool. So I hope that happens. I'm not positive if it's going to. I mean, I sit on the board as a director for a painting and disaster restoration academy. They're trying to do some online schooling to have this be more of a legitimate kind of following like a union program, but for an open company. The Mike Rowe has been beating this drum for 15 years now, right? That I would love to see. I think that might be one of the first aspects if the labor gets a little bit more formal. Some of the fly-by-night guys go away because people want to work for a good company. It's going to take care of them rather than the guy that pays them cash on Fridays. Maybe it starts that way. Maybe it starts with the employees instead of the actual companies a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely are approaching it from a very I would say almost a corporate approach, but not a corporate with a Facebook feel. Obviously, Facebook is corporate, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see. Do you have any advice and anything that you maybe haven't already shared for painting company owners that their business is not at 5 million? Maybe it's not even at 500,000. What advice do you have for them if they'd like to get to 5 million?
Gosh, that's a really, really good question. I think if you want to take something from 3, 4, 500,000 to 5 million, it's really not as hard as people think it is. When we all started painting a big room or big house was difficult. It's the same thing. What seemed, massive at one time is not anymore. But it doesn't happen overnight. If you're consistent with stuff, and you take some calculated risks, it really isn't that hard to do. You just have to take some calculated risk. And I think, I've been lucky that some of mine have worked, but I've had more fail. I mean, it's not easy. I'm the first generation of this company. When I did quotes, back in the day, people said, "Oh, is this your father's operation?" It really pissed me off because I'm like, no, I built this. What are you talking about? This is me. So it wasn't given to me. But I think if you take some calculated risk and try to find out where you're weak, that you can do this, hiring the right people. Don't just hire the guy because he says he has 30 years experience. If you need someone to do your books and answer your phone because you're not good at it, then that's your first hire. Maybe you only have 3 painters, but if you need someone to answer the phone, then that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Being willing to hire even if maybe you're a little afraid at that point.
Yeah,
to
I
take that
think
next step.
you have to. I mean, no business that's really made it did it just absolutely super slow and predictable. I mean, there are people that did stuff that just was an insane risk. That's not my personality.
Yeah.
I'm not owning Amazon or Tesla. I didn't get into books and now I own everything with home
Oh,
delivery.
the world.
Books,
Yep.
right? That was nuts. And if you would have gone back and said, "Oh, the way you're going to become a bazillionaire is going to be to deliver groceries and all this other stuff," people would say, "No way."
You're
But I
right.
think if you take some risk, and then I still do on both sides of it, some peer mediation stuff. Talk to your peers and ask them what should I do when. Guys in other businesses will be super helpful. Carpet cleaners, landscapers, to say this is how I do that. You're not their competition. Where your competition might tell you to get lost. Those people in your area will be like, "Oh, I had that too. I used to advertise with door hangers and I gave that up because it was terrible." Or I
Mhm.
used to hire all the best guys and I stopped that. I'd rather train. I mean, they'll give you that information before you can even afford a business coach. You can get a lot of that stuff for free. Just find a couple mentors.
What a great point. Yeah. And even not, I mean, obviously you want to be cognizant that what works in one industry in your service area might not work in painting, but just finding other companies that are doing well in your local area. I mean, go to your chamber of commerce, go see if there's any sort of entrepreneurship group, go to these kinds of groups, connect with these kinds of people, and small business owners and even larger business owners. They want to help other business owners. Ultimately that's what they do.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I've been in a business network for 15 years. That was a huge part of my marketing right back in the day.
Is it
That was,
BNI or?
I was been in BNI, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's others. And but some of those more seasoned professionals, I got in, I was 23 years old, and I had a cell phone attached to my hip. I was in painter's whites. I didn't
You had
plan to be a big-
your dad's company that you just took over.
Exactly. So but those older members, I mean, they want you to do good. They feel some satisfaction in kind of training and teaching you. And I'm still friends with these guys now. Like I had no idea. I knew you were going to be successful, but I had no idea that you're buying a building like that or that you have this.
That's so cool, man.
And they had some stake in that because I would go to them in December and say, "Hey guys, I need work like now. Does anyone need a couple small jobs?" I don't ask for a lot of favors. I'm pretty proud, but I need work like the next 4 weeks. I got 2 guys that I'm beating and I can't lose them. And it's super important to me. Does anyone have a job that, you were thinking about getting done that maybe we could fast track? "Oh yeah, we got this spare bedroom. Johnny's off at college. It's a good time. Hell, let's do it." And just some humility helps.
Be willing to ask for help.
I joke around at the office. One of my favorite smart aleck sayings is that, I'm the best at being humble.
That's really funny. It took me a second. It took me a second. That's good.
It does. I'm really good at being humble.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Cool, man. Is there anything else that you wanna say?
No, I mean, I really appreciate the time. I hope we, got some content out there that may help,
Oh yeah.
entrepreneurs or people that are, getting into the game later, but companies that are newer. And, I'm available and I'm totally happy to share tips and tricks. If people want to get a hold of me too. Like I don't mind telling you how we do it and why. It may not work. Our stuff, our company culture may not fit or may not be right for someone else as an owner, and that's cool too. There's a different way to do it. But if somebody thinks that what I'm saying may help, then you can find me.
Do you want to maybe share an email address, or what would be the
Yeah.
best way for people to
Yeah,
contact
email is
you?
always good. My email is just John, JOHN, at MacFarlandPainting.com, MacFarland painting.com.
John at
Super
MacFarland.
responsive. I mean, tell me what it is. I've showed guys financial stuff. I have no problem with that. I mean, I wish I had more money than I did or do. It's something we're constantly working on. So I'm not too proud to do that and ask for help. And I think there's guys that do different stuff in different markets that I can pick away stuff from and bring it back for us too, because we are by no means a finished product or doing everything perfect. So
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect example of reaching out for mentorship and for people who are farther along and getting that help. John, just to clarify, so I've been saying your company's name wrong the whole time and your name wrong the whole time.
It's McFarland or MacFarland. It really makes no. I don't know if you can see on the shirt. You're not going to offend me either way. If you type in McFarland or MacFarlandPainting.com, I got them both because everyone has their own.
One way or another. Yeah.
It's all good. No worries.
All right, John. Well, thanks, man. This was amazing. Thank you for being on the show, and I think people are going to derive a ton of value. And I hope that some people do take you up on your offer to reach out to you and get some advice.
Love to talk to people, Brandon. Thank you. Hopefully, I didn't talk too dang much.
Oh, you did great, man. You did great.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.